Here's a story from the Post-Millennial. Trump honors fallen soldiers from Afghanistan at Arlington Memorial Service. Kamala and Biden are no-shows. This morning, when I was watching my morning news, I saw Donald Trump at this ceremony at Arlington, and then I immediately was like, that's kind of strange. He's not the president. He's just running for president. Where's Kamala? Where's Biden? The current administration. They were not there. It is strange that the president and vice president are not at the Arlington Memorial Service for fallen soldiers, and Donald Trump is. And I think Trump went there because he has a sense of duty. He is asking to be leader of this country again, and he sees a responsibility in honoring those who sacrificed their lives for this country. And I also cannot say I'm surprised that Biden is vacationing.
He's on in a Delaware beach somewhere.
That's right. Probably Rehoboth or something, right?
Yeah, laying out there in the sun.
Kamala, MIA.
Kamala's in D.C. She was taking some briefings today. And they were not open to the public.
So she was just down the street and she could not spend even an hour.
That's correct.
On the third anniversary of their botched withdrawal from Afghanistan.
13 service members were killed in that bombing.
And she was the last one in the room, she said.
That's right.
Great.
Yeah, good for her.
Mm-hmm. Good for her.
Yeah.
They would have had to have contended with JFK's grave there as well. Look, Trump is winning right now. He's making all the right moves. He's continuing to do the right thing all of the time. I had a conversation with somebody earlier who said that it is possible that maybe they weren't even invited. Maybe the families had such disdain for them, they just didn't even send an invitation.
Well, that's interesting.
Be that as it may, I think they still had a duty to show up. You send somebody, right? One of the two of you have to show up because it sends a clear message to the military people and family service members of this country that they just do not care.
And issue a statement.
They both did release statements, but they couldn't even make like a video and a recording. Like there's a certain level of like cold and distance from this whole situation that's really about them, right? They don't want to talk about what happened in Afghanistan. And so instead they'd rather disrespect the families of the people who lost their children and relatives.
Well, it's their fault. And were they to show up, were to make a video or address this in any meaningful way, it's just going to highlight and be bad for their polls.
It certainly would be. We have a reporter who wrote this story, Tommy Stevenson, who's been in touch with the Gold Star families and has spoken to them at length. And many of them are just truly disgusted with the way the Biden and Harris administration has handled not only the withdrawal, but the reaction to it afterwards and handled the memory and legacy of their children. It's just so insane. Like they were at the RNC, they were speaking from the stage, and I was there on the floor that night. And I think I've told you guys about it before. It was incredibly moving. The entire room was silent, just honoring these families and the loss that they suffered because their children literally went and died for this country.
Yeah.
It's a very Kamala Harris thing to do when she was attorney general, district attorney, whatever it was in California. She was censured by the bar because there were innocent men languishing in prison. And these cases were brought to her attention on several occasions, and she did nothing about it because her office would have needed to issue a correction. So instead of saying, hey, we got it wrong, and losing a little bit of face and letting these guys out, she didn't do it. She got in trouble for it. She got jammed up for it later on. And to your point, there would have had to been some level of contrition here, some level of, hey, we were involved in this. It didn't pan out the right way. But despite that reality, we're here because we love you. We love these families. We care about what happened. But that never happened, right? This is who they are. And look, she's, in terms of controlled opposition, if you thought Biden was controlled, I mean, forget about it. Like this one over here, if she gets in, I have no idea who's going to be in charge. She's not going to be calling the shots. That's for sure.
And it's crazy that they weren't even, it's not like she's like, oh, I'm in Colorado on the campaign trail, but my hearts are with the families. He came back from California basically in time for this service and still couldn't drive out from Delaware. It's really just not that far. They are both in the D.C. area. There's sort of no excuse for not being able to say, this is worth acknowledging.
Well,
other than ego.
She's not a genuine person, and he's not there. And one thing, it's like you said, I think you just said a second ago, she's not going to be pulling the strings when she's in the
yeah.
When she's in the White House, if she ends up in the White House, God forbid. And the thing about that too is that this is part of the Democratic Party's plan to delegitimize the presidency entirely, because they keep saying that what qualifies her are these immutable characteristics that don't have anything to do with qualifications or merit or skill or talent. They're saying she should be in the White House because she's a black woman. And there is joy and euphoria to that. Well, what does that mean other than saying the presidency is simply a figurehead? So let's just have a pretty one. Do you know what I mean? Like, the presidency clearly doesn't matter to these people because they put all of their faith in the deep state to implement agendas and guidelines and interpret laws that are passed by Congress. They don't care who the president is. They just care what she looks like and that, you know, what she's representing for their mission and ethos, their vague plans and policies.
I was listening to this.
Aren't even there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think it's so fascinating. I mean, again, she's running without policies, and I was listening to this analysis of her speech at the DNC, and this New York Times reporter had said that they had heard from campaign officials that they were being told, like volunteers were being told, don't focus on policy, focus on story. And if you remember, so much of her speech was like, well, this is my childhood and my upbringing and
narrative,
you know,
and that's still what the website is. It's just bio,
right? And there was this. I was listening to this one podcast talking about it, and one of the women was saying, you know, well, when I was there, I was like, you know, we're in the room and it's exciting, but as I come down from this sort of like exciting, you know, balloons and flag waving or whatever else, I realized that the things I was thinking, oh, that's kind of a policy, are really nothing. I mean, she has really given these people who are just lining up behind her blindly nothing. And I think enough will wake up from that and look at these moments, look at her not attending, you know, going to the DNC and saying basically we're reclaiming patriotism, and they're making this big like USA chant or whatever, and then she can't show up at, you know, what I actually would consider a very patriotic ceremony.
An actual one.
Yeah.
Other than the one where they're waving little paper flags on the floor while they're burning flags outside in the street.
Yeah. Only when it conveniences her for anything.
That is funny, isn't it? There's this picture going viral of what the streets look like after Pride events, and it's just a garbage dump.
Yeah.
But like bottles, cups, wrappers.
That's what environmentalists
soiled.
do. They litter.
They do. Yeah, there was another really funny one a while ago. It was like some environmental climate change rally, and after they left, everything was just trashed.
Yeah, of course.
That's a good one. And then there's a video of the Trump supporters having a rally, and they're all cleaning up afterwards, and everything's left the way they came there. You know, that is kind of funny. So when I look at this stuff, and I look at Democrats, I wonder if Democrats just really hate their own voter base. But I mean that literally.
I think they do. And I think they hate Americans. I think they just look down on everybody. It was that great, you guys saw the Chris Cuomo moment when he was on the floor of the DNC and he was looking up and he was like, these people are literally looking down on us. That is what
he points out all these boxes started at $500,000. These people get special privileged access. That's the game they play.
Of course. I've always been very uncomfortable as well with her husband. I mean, you know, former head of Google or whatever it is. And then now.
Is that where he worked?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that doesn't make me feel good about the public-private partnership between big tech and the White House at all. And no one really talks about it. It would be uncomfortable, right? If Mark Zuckerberg were her significant other.
Well, and also they got married 10 years ago. They were introduced on a blind date by the head of ABC and her husband. So she was literally introduced on a blind date to her husband by the person who is in charge of hosting the only debate Kamala Harris has agreed to. And if
got
we
the
think,
Biden interview after the debate,
got the
and
Biden,
got the Kim Cheadle interview.
That's right. And if
I don't think he worked at Google.
Yeah,
No, it wasn't Google?
He's a lawyer. And
Really?
A professor. Yeah.
he left his position in the law firm when Kamala Harris became vice president, so that
They
he could
worked on the
be
Google case.
supporting her full time.
I could have it wrong.
I think Emhoff is an interesting character. I mean, I think there are a lot of moments with Kamala Harris where things don't feel authentic. You know, obviously we're not in her marriage. We don't know what happened there, but it definitely seems like she is
Happy anniversary, Dougie.
Well, and she's trying to say, I'm from the middle class and I'm one of you and working and my mom. Meanwhile, she's married to an elite attorney from California. She's held high-ranking government positions. Like she was in the Senate. Like I don't really understand how you can.
She slept her way into, you know, the
right,
Attorney
like
General's office.
How can you say you're of the working class when nothing about your lifestyle has signaled? Maybe your childhood was like, maybe your childhood was super
but
middle
if you
class.
look, I mean, she talks a lot about her mother's immigrant past, you know, and all of the hardship that she faced as an immigrant. But if you look at what the story is, her mother was 19 from India. She came here to study science, become a doctor, Why? Because there were great opportunities here. And this is the person who's lecturing Kamala Harris as a young person about civil rights. That just seems really bizarre. Her mother then, didn't she like get a PhD and became a professor at McGill, which is like one of the most elite universities in Canada.
She grew up in a very nice
She grew up in
area.
Montreal. And Emma Jo Morris, who's also from Montreal, keeps posting pictures and being like, this is where Kamala Harris grew up in Westmount, which is this beautiful, wealthy neighborhood that I walked through once, and I was like, damn, it's nice here. You know, I didn't even know Kamala Harris grew up there, but that's nice.
Yeah.
The lefty Democratic machine thrives on elitism. Ivy League schools, it's a who knows who situation. There's nothing working class about the way she presents, about her contacts in life, about the way she acts at all. I mean, this is. And, these Democrats, you look at Pelosi and everybody else, they have more in common with the Rhino establishment,
Sure.
which is another branch of
The Uniparty.
Right, the Uniparty, than they have in common with any one of us, especially the working class. And if, Tim, I got that wrong on her husband before, then I apologize. I don't know why I thought that was in my head, but... you can't get it right all the time.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe, and we'll see you all there.